Good morning, babies. Alright, I'm doing a video, or I'm trying to read it, but it doesn't make sense to me, so I'm not sure if I should do it or not, because let me read it. Ah. Alright, so I read something wrong. I was reading one at first, but it turned out to be unless. So unless we do things in a different way, we won't be able to see the difference in what we're doing. That makes more sense. And it's basically like a reflection on Einstein's insanity is doing the same thing but expecting a different result. So, if you're one of the single most cause of blindness in people is the opinion that kind of gets created on its own self without you noticing. I think it's a passive approach because you kind of like look at the world and you do something and it works, it functions. The bigger problem is instead of noticing what you are doing or what you did, you can only notice yourself in it. You notice who you are in it, who you became in it, how it supported you, how it helped you. Well, it's a narcissistic trait because I feel as kids, the first thing that we're given is attention when we start acting and doing shit. So the thing we did is not really given attention, it's us doing it, so it kind of gives us that whole like acknowledge me kind of vibe. Anywho, unless we do things in a different way, and how can we do things in a different way? Just to be clear here, right? And for us, because like there's this thing called cognitive bias, where your brain is biased towards a certain kind of like thing or approach. And it's one of those like, I don't want to say phenomena, but what happens is your brain is only able to distinguish or to see more details about something in contrast to something else. And so effectively, when you're doing something, you've been doing it for a while, right? Because unless we do things in a different way, it doesn't mean you did it once and that was it. I doubt any human being is that good. But effectively what happens is you did it in a way where you got okay, where it was acceptable the way you were doing it. It's an ADHD thing, right? Like jack of all trades, master of none. The full term is still better than a master of one, but there are two ways to like kind of like my bad. I reflected on myself in this one, but no. So like being able to do something in an okay way, and the difference between doing it in an okay way and doing it every single time and giving it its attention, right? So when you're looking at yourself, what you do is you do something, you're like, I know how to do that. Or versus I've done that before, so I have experience with it. And the idea is if I've done that before, I have experience with it, that was my approach. Then the next time you approach it, you're looking at it. You're looking at exactly how it kind of like, you're giving it that attention. You're giving how it that you're talking about it to the people that you're working with, you're developing it, you're establishing it, you're exploring it. You're actually engaging with but if you're looking at yourself, you can't see the difference. Because whatever you look at, you're going to see exactly what you did before. You're going to see how you did it before. Or at the very least, you're going to be limited to what was there before in your mind. And naturally, there's an identity thing here, right? Because if you do things a certain kind of way, you've identified with the way you do things. So unless we do things in a different way, we won't be able to see the difference in what we're doing. As in, that is the contrast. How did I do it before? And how would I do it now? Or what way is better to do it now? Right? That kind of thought process, that kind of back and forth, that kind of the distance, the separation between, you could say how you were last time you did it and how you are right now with how you did it. But I feel it's a lot more powerful if you just kind of go how it looked like back in the day and how it looked like now. I have made a video once about the two types of ego. And there's a self-centered one. Let me find it. There's a holistic ego and a self-serving one. The problem is the self-serving one is basically, look at me, look at what I did, look at how I did it, or look at me, look at what I did exactly. While the holistic ego is always looking at. Wait 1 second. Is that it? I almost found it. I did not find it. There's look at me and look at what I did versus exactly, there's self-style and world style. There's look at me and look at what I did, and look at me and there's look at me and look at how I did it. Right? The structure behind this approach is kind of like exploring your own personal view. One has you at the center of it, and one has what you do at the center of it. And they're both an egotistical approach, right? The only difference, though, is the fact that you are able to kind of see yourself in the work that you're doing. Are you catching on? Are you still with me? So the structure behind it is how can you see the difference? See the difference in what you're doing. How? Right? I don't know. How can you explore a difference in what you're doing? Interesting. I scored. Look at me. Look at the goal I scored. Right? Well, we won't be able to see the difference. That makes things. It kind of feels redundant, right? But why would seeing a difference matter? Well, we don't really see details. We see angles. Human beings live according to perspective or perception. Anytime I change my perception, or I change my perspective, or I adjust my perspective, my perception changes. But it's also true from the other side. If I change my perception, then ultimately I adjust my perspective. And if I were to explain it, I go if you discover something new about a plant, then ultimately you could also see that in every other plant. That's what I would call perspective, right? But a shift in perception, I guess, yes. And that's basically when you do something different, you perceive something different. But the idea behind perspective is, will you be able to notice that this difference could exist in every other object in the world? And that's basically where your perspective kind of shifts. That between the perspective and the perception that we have is where we build our logic. It's where we allow our, our thoughts to be constructed, or at the very least, where we allow our mental buildup, I guess, or mental evolution. Because we don't really grow. Information is everywhere around us. We just have to see it. We just have to allow it to exist the way it is without our biases and without standing in our own way. And the way that we stand in our own way when we're not necessarily looking at whatever's in front of us, when we're not giving it attention. So it does sound redundant. We won't be able to see the difference in what we're doing. But here I think I'm reflecting on the difference in, because I'm doing something, not the difference in it, but the difference in I'm doing something because I want something to be, I want the outcome, I want to see a different outcome. Or else why the fuck would you be motivated? Why would anyone be motivated to do anything if there's no results that they are looking forward to see, right? And I'm not saying expectations. And if you do the same thing that you did before, how could you expect a different result, right? So the easier way for us to always be like, I did something this way last time. How else can I do it? How differently can I do it this time? And I feel that creates the details that people normally do not interact with. Or that allows us to take charge in our perspective, so that everything we perceive afterwards, because a shift in perspective applies to everything we perceive, but a shift in perception requires a bit more effort in order for you to be able to adjust your perspective accordingly. Really, you have to perceive something and apply it everywhere. But if you approach something from a different angle, you're approaching from a perspective, and then whatever you perceive is automatically applied everywhere. Because you changed how you're looking at it. You explored a different angle of it, which revealed more details and more information. Cool beans. I love you guys.